Good day, Crime Talk aficionados. This is Scott Reisch of Crime Talk. Thanks for watching. First on the docket, the Phoenix Police Department has released details of the death of Joseph Ryan. That's right, Lori Vallow's third husband. Second, the lawyer for the cop in the George Floyd case is not pulling any punches. Third, Cuba Gooding Jr. has some more legal issues coming his way. Fourth, creepy dude in Florida is arrested. Wait till you hear what he did. Fifth, the lottery lawyer is busted. Sixth, cold case of the day. And finally, our dumb criminal contestant of the day. Let's talk about it. Before we get to the docket, that's right, we're going to say, first of all, thank you for all that you do and taking your time to watch us. And we would ask, if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell so that you receive notifications of when we put up new content or go live. And as always, leave us a comment below. I do read the comments and I try to respond as well. Some days there's just not enough hours in the day to do it all. First on the docket, that's right, the Phoenix Police Department has released details on the third ex-husband of Lori Vallow, who is found dead. Now, Lori Vallow, who we've called perhaps the widowmaker, has lots of ex-husbands. We know that number 5, Chad Daybell, we know where he is. He's in custody. He's probably safer in custody and not with Lori Vallow. We know that Lori Vallow's fourth husband is dead by the hands of her brother, Alex Cox, who is also dead. Husband number 3, Joseph Ryan, we know was found on April 3rd of 2018 when the police found his body in his apartment around 6 p.m. The reports that have been released show that a neighbor came out of his apartment with his dog and that the dog started scratching on Ryan's door because basically there was a strong odor and he saw flies inside the apartment. Ultimately, the police were contacted and they found Ryan's body on his bed. The body was already in the stages of decomposition. It was 10 days after the police had found Ryan's body that they contacted Lori Vallow because she was listed as next of kin. Vallow told the police she hadn't heard from Ryan in about 2 years. And according to the report, she said that she shared a 15-year-old daughter with her ex-husband. Obviously, we now know that is Tylee Ryan. Apparently, Lori Vallow asked the police what had happened, and she wanted to know so that she could give the daughter, Tylee, the information about her father's death. The Maricopa County Medical Examiner determined that Ryan's cause of death was from arteriosclerotic cardiovascular disease, which is a fancy way of saying hardening and narrowing of the arteries and puts blood flow at risk. This disease can cause heart attacks and strokes, and the case is considered closed, according to the police department, as Ryan died a natural death. Vallow and Ryan became embroiled in a long custody battle over their daughter, Tylee Ryan, which began in 2009. That battle originally began in Travis County, Texas. According to court documents, Ryan was accused by Vallow of parental alienation, alleging he had not seen his daughter for more than a year at one point. Wow, can you imagine Vallow, how upset she must have been? Such travesty there, right? Little ironic, don't you think? Ryan also referred to court-appointed psychologist who interviewed Vallow. One of the psychologists that interviewed Ms. Vallow described her as a devout Mormon and had mentioned to the psychologist that death would be an option before giving Tylee to her father, Joseph Ryan, even for a visit. Now, Chad Daybell may be the luckiest of the ex-husbands because he is in custody and not near Lori Vallow. Because as we stated earlier, on July 11th, 2019, Alex Cox, who's also kind of the one that was one of the last people with both Tylee and Ryan, shot and killed Vallow's fourth husband, Charles Vallow, and claimed self-defense. The investigation into Charles Vallow's death is still ongoing, and the detectives plan to submit charges against Lori Vallow, according to the Maricopa County Attorney's Office, including a potential charge of conspiracy to commit murder. Maybe this information is coming from items seized on Alex Cox's phone, but that may be a difficult case to make. Frankly, I am not holding my breath for those charges. Frankly, the case that is of greater interest to me would be the case related to Chad Daybell. I would be very curious to know whether the authorities, after exhuming Tammy's body, have come up with anything to say that her death was anything other than natural causes. I somehow think that it's rather suspicious that she died and then Lori Vallow and Chad Daybell get married some 2 weeks later. Maybe that's just my untrusting personality in me, but I somehow think something is really fishy on that one. Now, next on the docket, one of the attorneys for the officers in the George Floyd matter is not pulling any punches. Now, some people aren't going to like this, but the attorney for Thomas Lane is going full steam ahead. That's right. Lane's attorney, a guy by the name of Earl Gray, wrote in a response to his motions basically saying that the response by the government was nothing more than narrative fiction and that his client, Thomas Lane, did nothing wrong. Gray alleges that Floyd is the one that contributed to his own death by taking lethal doses of fentanyl during his arrest. Specifically in the documents, Gray points to a white spot that he says was seen on the left side of Floyd's tongue in body camera footage, but disappears seconds later. Gray suggests it's a 2 milligrams of fentanyl, which is a lethal dose. Gray went on to say on behalf of his client Lane, quote, "All he had to do is sit in the police car like every other defendant who's initially arrested. While attempting to avoid his arrest all by himself, Mr. Floyd overdosed on fentanyl. Given his intoxication level, breathing would have been difficult at best." Gray's argument continues that Floyd's intentional failure to obey commands, coupled with his overdosing, contributed to his own death. Now, the medical examiner listed fentanyl intoxication and recent methamphetamine use under other significant conditions in the summary of Floyd's autopsy released back in June. Those factors were listed under causes of death. The medical examiner did ultimately classify the death as a homicide, saying Floyd's heart stopped as police restrained him and did, in fact, compress his neck. And as you may recall, that was not the original determination. It was only after the family had obtained their own examination by an independent medical examiner that he changed his decision. The coroner went on to explain that the decedent experienced a cardiopulmonary arrest while being restrained by law enforcement officers. Gray put in his motion that he urged the prosecutors to dismiss his clients from the case, arguing that Lane was a rookie officer who was overridden by his superior. Now, the prosecution rejects the argument, noting that Lane ignored police department policy that required officers to stop fellow officers if they are inappropriately using force. Lane restrained Floyd's legs using his hands and knees, while Koenig knelt on Floyd's back and arms in place, according to the prosecution. Former Officer Tao, another officer, kept people away at the scene. Obviously, Chauvin is charged with second-degree murder because he had his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. Now, some people may not like this, that the defense attorneys are going after Mr. Floyd himself, but the reality of it is those are facts. There's a good faith basis for those facts, and that the defense attorney is going to go forward with them absolutely. Like I said, some people aren't going to like it. It won't fit the narrative, but the reality of it is that is good lawyering. Absolutely good lawyering. You take every fact that you can, use it to the best advantage of your client. And here, in this particular case, I think the attorneys actually have a lot to work with. Let's face it, Mr. Floyd was a felon who was being contacted for passing bills. He was high on meth and fentanyl. Let's face it, this guy was not exactly Mother Teresa. Not saying that he deserved to die. I'm not saying that. But those are the facts that the defense is going to highlight, and they're going to continue to highlight throughout the pretrial process as well as the trial. We'll see if the jury believes the prosecution or the defense. Well, remember Cuba Gooding Jr., the famous actor guy? Well, in 2019, he pled not guilty to charges of groping 3 women in New York City in nightclubs in 2018. Those cases are still pending, but he still has those sexual abuse and forcible touching charges pending against him. Well, now he's got more allegations. Allegations have come forward, and we will obviously give Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. the presumption of innocence like we do everyone we talk about here on this show. But the actor has now been accused of allegedly raping a woman twice in 2013 inside a New York City hotel room. According to Mr. Gooding Jr.'s attorney, Mr. Cuba Gooding Jr. denies the claims made by this anonymous accuser. Mr. Gooding's attorney says there's absolutely no conduct committed in any criminal nature as alleged. He expects that these cases will be dismissed, and it is a civil case and not a criminal case whatsoever, and no criminal complaint has been raised at any time. The lawsuit was filed Tuesday by an unidentified woman who claims that the actor invited her up to his hotel room where he began to undress in front of her. And then it's alleged that he blocked the door, pushed her onto the bed, and then raped her twice. She is seeking unspecified amounts of compensatory damages as long as punitive damages as well. So what that means is she wants to be compensated for her actual injury, and she wants punitive charges to punishment against Mr. Gooding Jr. if she prevails, so that he would have to pay normally 3 times whatever her actual damages are. Actual damages are, what did it cost to go to the doctor? How about medical treatment? Then you have those are considered economic losses. Then you have the non-economic losses, which are your pain and suffering. How do you put a price on something like that if it in fact did occur? If the matter gets that far to a jury, the jury will have to decide. Ladies and gentlemen, everyone would love to be able to run a criminal background search anytime they want. Well, now you can do that. If you go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up for a background subscription, a subscription that you can cancel at any time, you will then have the ability to run as many background searches as you want, and you can do it anonymously, which means no one's going to know that you're doing it. And when you type in the name of the person you want to search, literally millions of records will be searched and a report will be generated while you wait. That report will include social media associated with that particular individual, email addresses associated with that particular individual, phone numbers associated with that individual, phone numbers associated with that individual. Additionally, you will get a report regarding one's criminal history, if there's any bankruptcies, if there's any property records exist, if there are any marital records that exist, information you want to know about the people that you are dealing with. Now you have the opportunity to do it at a very low cost. The subscription is very reasonable, and you can cancel at any time. Go to CrimeTalkSearch.com, sign up today. You'll be happy and glad that you did. All right, ladies and gentlemen, take a listen to what this guy did in Florida. This guy's name is Eric Strait. Just a creepy dude, all right? He is alleged to have gone to the window of a 7-year-old girl while completely naked. Well, he apparently did this and was spotted on security camera at least 4 times. While on his neighbor's property, Strait attempted to talk to the little girl while standing at her window. On August 14th, he knocked on her window at least 3 times. The family installed a security camera on August 9th after the child's mother spotted a silhouette of a man by her daughter's window. It's unclear whether there were any previous instances of Straight sneaking onto the property before the camera was installed. Now, the sheriff down there got straight to the point and said Straight is a, quote, scumbag, unquote. He said that the suspect tried to take the screen off the child's window. He knows that the window belonged to the 7-year-old's bedroom, so he knows that he's naked and knocked on that window. The sheriff said he would have been fine with that. Now, Straight apparently came up with the claim that he was a professional nudist, and that if he's a nudist, well, he can do that inside his home, but not inside the subdivision outside the window of a 7-year-old girl. Apparently, the owners of the property and the parents of the victim have specifically told Straight that he's not permitted on their property nude. Obviously, Mr. Straight, even though caught on tape, is given the presumption of innocence. But clearly, Mr. Straight has bigger issues than just being a professional nudist. He is a creepy dude. A lot of people say that anyone that does anything with a child under the age of 18 is a pedophile. Technically, the definition of a pedophile is one that likes prepubescent children. Well, guess what? Mr. Straight is probably going to fit that bill. This man needs serious help and monitoring so that he is not out near some 7-year-old's window naked trying to come in. That's just wrong. This guy is a danger to the community. And after you hear stories like that, and you don't want to go get a subscription to a background search to search all of your neighbors, don't come saying, Scott, I wish I had got it. No one said, Scott, I wish I hadn't got that subscription service. No, they also, thank you, Scott. I found out all the information about someone in my life and something they weren't telling me. Wouldn't you like to know what your neighbors are doing or what they did before they moved in? I know I have. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this guy. He's a lawyer, and he is the, quote, self-proclaimed lottery lawyer. Well, he's been charged in a scheme in which tens of millions of dollars were swindled from lottery winners. That's according to federal prosecutors. They've charged New York lawyer Jason Kurland, who's 46, accused of gaining the trust of his clients, some of whom won big in Mega Millions and Powerball, and steering them to invest in businesses controlled by 3 other people who were also charged. Kurland is alleged to have gotten kickbacks in the scheme all the way along. More than $107 million was invested into the scheme, and of that, more than $80 million was either stolen or lost. It's alleged that Kurland allowed co-conspirators to pillage his clients' bank accounts for their own enrichment. The co-defendants include a gentleman by the name of Christopher Cherchirio, who's 52, and is described as a soldier in the Genovese crime family. Former securities broker Francis Smokler and Francesco Russo have also been charged. They've all been charged with wire fraud, conspiracy, money laundering, and money laundering as a conspiracy as well. Kurland was thrown in with a charge of honest service fraud. All 4 have pled not guilty and were free on bond. Russo and Smokler are also accused of threatening to kill a jewelry merchant and torture his wife and son unless the merchant repaid a $250,000 street loan in the amount over $400,000. In that particular case, the merchant, a Gregory Altieri, was indicted last month in what the police alleged as a $200 million Ponzi scheme. And some of the money from the lottery victims were invested with Altieri, and it was all lost, but that the loan was called a separate matter in court documents. You see how these matters build. Somebody gets in trouble, particularly in the federal system, to get a reduced sentence. You cooperate, you tell on somebody else, you get a reduction, more cases are built. Some of the victims in this scheme won $1.5 billion in a Mega Millions winning, and one who won $245 million in a power jackpot. Apparently, the lottery winners sought help from Kurland and his firm for advice on investments. Instead of the money being used for actual investments, money went to Kurland in the form of kickbacks, and then the other people used the money for their lavish lifestyle that they were in fact living. Now, Mr. Kurland is going to have some big problems. Obviously, it's tough to practice law behind federal bars because you will be disbarred. And any of you lottery winners out there need any advice on how to invest your money, call me. I'll probably tell you, no, don't do it. Okay? When somebody hits big like that, everybody and their brother is going to be trying to get money out of you for the next big thing. And if it's such a great deal, they probably don't need your money because they'd be using their own money because it was such a brilliant idea and they just, well, they don't need anybody's money because it's such a great idea. I will only charge you my normal hourly rate to tell you no, or we'll put you in touch with a lot of really good financial people who will go through their books in great detail to make sure that they are legit, if in fact they are or are not. But I guarantee you, I wouldn't be getting a kickback like Mr. Kurland is alleged to have gotten. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the other day we started kind of our cold case of the day. Now, there's a lot of cold cases out there, and we've talked about it. Someone knows something about all of these cases. And maybe, just maybe, whether they watch YouTube or they listen to our podcast, they talk about it, and somebody knows somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody that says, let me contact somebody because I, in fact, know something. So let's take a look at it today. Today's cold case is what is referred to as the Trabuco Canyon John Doe. And this case dates back to December 13th of 1996. That's when human skeletal remains were discovered in a creek bed in a remote wilderness area off Trabuco Creek Road, northeast of O'Neill Regional Park in Trabuco Canyon, Orange County, California. Now, due to the state of decomposition, forensic investigators estimated that the deceased died some 6 to 18 months prior to the remains being discovered. A forensic anthropologist's evaluation indicated that the remains could be that of a young Caucasian or Hispanic man between 15 and 19 years old with a small build, possibly of about 5 feet 6 inches tall and 145 pounds. They believe that he had red or sandy brown hair, and there were no signs of skeletal foul play. So the cause and manner of death were officially classified as undetermined. Now, you would think that a young pre-teenage boy, that somebody would be concerned that they were missing. So if anyone has any information about the Trabuco Canyon cold case, you could contact Bob Taft or Kelly Keys at the Orange County Sheriff's Department in their coroner division at 714-245-8349 or 714-647-7426. Let's help solve these cases. Now, next on the docket, look at this. We love our dumb criminal contestant of the day. What we like even more is when we get video of the dumb criminal contestant of the day committing the alleged act. Well, guess what? The police are looking for this woman, Gwendolyn Braswell, and we'll give her the presumption of innocence, but she is our dumb criminal contestant of the day. It is alleged that this woman from Alabama was behind the wheel of a Pontiac Sunfire that drove into a Home Depot Friday morning. This was all recorded on surveillance cameras inside the store in Birmingham. Police, like I said, identified Ms. Braswell as the suspect in this August 14th theft and asked the public to help determine her whereabouts. She is facing multiple charges, including burglary and criminal mischief and theft. Cops believe that Braswell had first staged merchandise in the store before returning in the car to pick up the goods, a leaf blower and a dehumidifier. This all took place about 9 a.m. If anyone's ever been in a Home Depot at 9 a.m., not on a Saturday, it's usually pretty quiet, except for the side where all the professional builders and tradesmen are coming in. Well, Miss Braswell backed in through the store's front sliding doors where she clipped her car upon an aisle and then blowing down a display that were scattered around near some customers. Now, guess what? Miss Braswell, good initiative, poor judgment. I mean, think about it. Having to push that cart in this COVID era? No, don't take the goods to your car. Bring your car to the goods. Good initiative, poor judgment. But if you're gonna steal things like you did, allegedly, you should probably take your license plate off. That's right. That's how they believe it is Miss Braswell in the car, because of her license plate. She has a lengthy history of burglary convictions, which, going into the store with the intent to commit a crime therein, is burglary, right, ladies and gentlemen? We've talked about it before. And she also has an arrest for possession of narcotics and drug paraphernalia. The drug case is currently pending. We wish her well. Perhaps she has some serious drug issues going on. But Miss Gwendolyn Braswell, you are our dumb criminal contestant of the day. And if you are our dumb criminal contestant winner of the week, I will find you and I will send you a Crime Talk mug. Miss Braswell, we'll ship it to you. No need to back your car into our office to get one. Thanks for watching Crime Talk. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.